Hey guys, today I want to talk about 5 rookie mistakes that are quite common when mixing, and I want to show what I do to prevent myself from making those mistakes over and over again. Let's start with the first mistake: not processing your sends. For me, sends are the heart of a mix. And when I'm talking about processing the sends, you can go in 2 different directions: corrective stuff to control the sends, or creative stuff to enhance the value of your mix by adding a different character, a different feel, a different effect to your actual sends. I have a project. This is the dry vocal.
So tell me who's to blame then?
I have a delay, echo boy.
Is he the reason you're missing now?
One thing that I can do to process this delay is, for example, to filter it. We have the EQ. We can use the high pass and low pass to make it a bit more clean, to remove the top end or the low end. In this case, I would like to have the low end more subtle.
So tell me who's to blame then? Is he the reason you're missing now? He don't love you like he said he would. He's the reason you're lonely now. Baby, tell me what your move is. Tell me how you gonna find a way.
Another thing that I like to do is to gently compress the delay.
So tell me who's to blame then? Is he the reason you're missing now? He don't love you like he said he would. He's the reason you're lonely now. Baby, tell me what your move is. Tell me how you gonna find a way out.
That way I have it a bit more consistent. This is something that's really simple but makes a big difference in the end. Same goes for reverbs. I have this Seventh Heaven.
So tell me who's to blame then? Is he the...
Let's add a bit more sparkle to the reverb.
So tell me who's to blame then? Is he the reason you're missing now? He don't love you like he said he would. He's the reason you're lonely now. Baby, tell me what your move is. Tell me how you gonna find a way.
And I've removed a lot of that low end rumble. This is one thing that I do on all my sends. As you can see in my template, on all my sends, I have an EQ after the delay, the reverb, the whatever I am using. Another mistake that's quite common is not level matching after processing. You spend a lot of time on getting the perfect balance to your mix in the beginning. You start processing. After a couple of hours, you feel that your entire mix has shifted from the initial balance. That's because you add processing and more processing, and you don't level match. What I mean by level match is when you process any sound, any track with a plugin, when you bypass that plugin, the level should stay consistent. That way you ensure that your initial balance, your initial gut feeling for the mix doesn't change. I have here a track from the Marine Rapper. Let's say that this is the beginning of the mix where I've started my basic balance. I love how the balance sounds. This is the track without the vocals having any sort of processing.
Got up and out the cuff with all the whipping I'm done, so I decided to run into the forest, mama. I joined the forces with guns. Obviously, I got property, papa got me like
So I like that balance. That's the pocket where I want the lead vocal to be. Let's say that I add a bunch of processing, EQ, some nice preamp saturation, compression, and I have a great sound.
Got up and out the cuff with all the whipping I'm done, so I decided to run into the forest, mama. I joined the forces with guns. Obviously, I got property, papa got me like Got up and out the cuff with all the whipping I'm done, so I...
The vocals sound better in terms of the top end, in terms of consistency, but the balance is messed up. That's why it's important after you add processing to match the unprocessed version of that sound to the processed. Before and after should sound pretty much in the same place, just to not mess with your initial balance. I have a couple of ways of doing that in the Lifeline console. I can go with the main output and just bring it down.
I decided to run Into the forest, mama, I joined the forces with guns. Obviously, I got property, papa got me like, Got up and out the cuff with all the whipping I'm done, so I decided to run. Into the forest, mama, I joined the forces with guns. Obviously,
Or I can go to the individual modules and just adjust the output gain of each after the processing.
got up and out the cuff with all the whipping I'm done, so I decided to run. Into the forest.
The great thing about the compressor module, you have an auto makeup gain. You just hit it, play the song, and it will make the adjustment automatically.
Got up and out the cuff with all the whipping I'm done, so I decided to run. Into the forest, mama, I joined the forces with guns. Obviously, I got property, papa got me like,
And just like that, I can protect, save the hard work that went into the initial balance. Another big mistake for me is lack of movement. Lack of movement means the mix is not interesting. The mix is static. When it comes to mixing, you can achieve movement in a couple of different ways, by using effects or by using automation. When we are talking about movement, one of my favorite way to create that in a mix is by using automation. And a really subtle way to achieve movement is to automate certain parameters of a plugin from section to section. I have the track from TMR. We have the transition from the verse to the hook.
I got property, papa got me like, God says I'm free. God says I'm free.
I want the transition from the sound of the vocals in the verse to the hook to be a bit more aggressive. I can just automate the drive on the preamp.
Nope.
I have created an automation lane. You can see it here. And I can add more drive into the preamp in the hook.
I got property, papa got me like, God says I'm free. God says I'm free. No price on me, say God.
I can create a bit more power for the hook. Same goes for the instrumental. I can do the same move, add just a touch of push on the preamp.
No price.
Just on the hook. So the hook hits a bit harder compared to the verse.
Join the forces with guns. Obviously, I got property, papa got me like, God says I'm free. God says I'm free. No price on me, say God says I'm free. God says I'm free. No price on me, I said, obviously, I got property, papa got me like, God says I'm free. God says I'm free. The whipping I'm done, so I decided to run. Into the forest, mama, I joined the forces with guns. Obviously, I got property, papa got me like, God says I'm free. God says I'm free. No.
Really easy way to achieve movement in the track so that your mix doesn't sound linear and static. Mistake number 4, over processing. Overcooking your mix. A sensitive subject for me because I struggle sometimes with this. I tend to overprocess something because I like how it sounds. I like the feel of that particular sound, but unfortunately sometimes it's better to do less so we can keep the integrity of the mix. One way to prevent overcooking your mix is to use parallel processing. I have the console on a drum bus. This is without any processing. I have the compressor on. I like what it does, but just to make sure that I don't overcook the mix, I tend to use the mix knob. Just to retain some of that original feel. Same goes for any other processing that I do. Let's say that after adding some EQ, I like the sound of it. Obvious, the drums are rounder, they sound brighter, better. But in a mixing context, I tend to back that down until I cannot hear that much the effect of the EQ.
Luce che mi guida nel quadrante, non faccio tanta più fatica, perché soffro come quando ero in lockdown che mi mancava la tua fica. Ogni attimo finito nel mio cosmo si dilata, sento il battito che accelera di un cuore appugnalato. Ho la testa che mi esplode di domande, dove ho cazzo messo il piatto, dove sono le mutande, questo slalom è gigante.
Same goes for saturation.
Non lo regge neanche Atlante, fuori giorno c'è la luce che mi guida nel quadrante. Non faccio tanta più fatica, perché soffro come quando ero in lockdown che mi mancava la tua fica. Ogni attimo finito nel...
When I start hearing the effect of the processing that I'm doing in the context of the mix, I try and back it down. That's one way to avoid overcooking a mix, and this is what I usually do in my projects. One last mistake that I want to talk about is overcomplicating things, overthinking the mix. Sometimes when you are a beginner, when you're starting out, you tend to do way too much. You tend to feel like you have to use complicated plugins, you have to use really complex solutions to your mixing problems. From my experience, sometimes it's just so much better to use simple solutions. That's why I like using really simple and basic plugins for my mixes. Keeping it simple. I've struggled a lot because I felt I wasn't giving my best when I was using plugins that, I don't know, have a simple interface, or I wasn't using really complex effect chains that I was seeing other producers using. This is why I love plugins like the Lifeline console. You have the option to have a simple view like this with just a couple of controls, but we also have the advanced view. This is a really nice addition to have. It's not always the best way to go about mixing a song. Sometimes I really like keeping it simple. I like that I don't have to think about what I'm doing. For example, on the compressor, I have just the threshold and the makeup. That's enough to start going. That's enough to start building a mix. I believe that most of the time, big mistakes when mixing arise when you try and I try to overcomplicate things, to use plugins that have way too much control for the task. If you want to compress something, it's okay to use a simple interface like this. If it sounds good, I don't care if it's simple. These are just a couple of rookie mistakes that you can make when mixing. I hope that you find this video helpful, and I hope that in the future we all stay away from making rookie mixing mistakes. Please subscribe, like, don't forget to follow me on Instagram. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave a comment down below. Thanks for the support and see you guys really, really soon.